Dan, I know you're not one to make excuses, but I thought your team looked, in the first period especially, as disjointed as we've seen them in a while. I know some guys got here late. The game got pushed back. Did that have any correlation at all with what we saw early in the game?
I mean, it was a late start for them too. I just thought it was combination of execution. I thought we were slow to get to areas, slow to support. We weren't winning. We weren't winning the races that I feel like normally we're at least in it. And so I just thought close to everything looked off.
Dan, you get the power play goal there late, but ultimately I think it's 1 for 7 tonight. Are you happy with the chances, at least, that are generated? Is there more you'd like to see from an execution standpoint? Just what do you make of what you did with the man advantage tonight?
I think you always got to be careful, until you really break it down. There was some looks that I think we could have maybe created a little bit more. I think there was some things that we could improve on just based on what the group has done in the past. I think you want to create a little bit more quality. I thought we had some. It's like some of those. It's the goalie makes the save too, and that's part of it. And so I think you got to focus more on are we working to the plan? Are we staying connected in that? I'll go back and watch it, before I get into too much on that one.
In this game and just bigger picture in general, are you satisfied with what you've been getting out of Chris Letang?
Chris Letang has been doing this for a long time at a high level. Every day he comes in, he works. He's a guy that is prepared. He sets an example for other players on this team. And I know every day he's gonna empty the tank there for this hockey team and for this city. And so, are there going to be some days where players walk off the ice and they maybe they wanted to do a little bit more, that it's not going to be perfect, or puck bounces the wrong way, whatever it might be. That's going to happen to everybody. But Chris Letang he brings it every single day to make a difference.
Dan, are you generally satisfied with the amount of traffic in front of the goalie or play between the dots? Or if not, what can you do to get more?
Overall, no. I mean, it's something I think there's been some. If you look over the last stretch of games, I think it's been better. It just hasn't been. I don't think that was the case tonight. I think there was a number of instances where we were around it. We definitely had an opportunity to stay there, and we didn't. I think if you look at some of the previous games, it was better than it had been in the past, but it's an area we just got to continue to work on.
Dan, the Kindle line seems to be playing fairly well, but not necessarily producing. Is there anything they could do different or better in your mind?
It's another one I think we got to look at. I think there was still some chances. I feel like today's game was a little bit more off the rush, than it was even in the past. It was a combination of off the rush and then in zone when they get going. I think it's still it's sometimes it's those little details matter, at this level. It's, some of the times it's just getting that shot off a little bit quicker. Like there were some instances of that tonight. Just getting a little bit better position on the inside. And, those are the things that I think, as young players, they're continuing to learn, just how it's a fine line. You think you have a lane, you think you have an opportunity, and the next thing you know, if things aren't done quick enough, or if you're not in a position to, give yourself that extra second or protect your stick, it closes off fast. And so I think I think the chances have been there, which is good, but I think we have to continue, looking at it with them of, how can we maybe get into a slightly better situation, execute a little bit quicker, whatever it might be.
What was your assessment of their quick response goal there in the third after you guys got on the board, and how was the emotional pushback after that? Was it a tough hurdle to overcome after Russ got on the board early in the third?
You're talking about their goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you need to follow that up. We to start the period, we obviously, we came in there, we got the start that we wanted. You want to look at it, you want to get a goal within, especially that first, 4 or 5 minutes max, and try to put the pressure on them, and to do it in the first shift to really set up the third period, and then you want to follow that up. It doesn't mean you have to go down there and score, but at least maintain momentum. And so that obviously put us back a step. And I do think in the third period, even the late game stuff, the guys kept pushing for that next one. But yeah.
Dan, they seem to be pretty effective on the rush, and that's something that has given y'all problems at other times this year as well. What were they doing well, and what were you doing? What were y'all doing that could have possibly allowed for some of those rush opportunities?
It was a lot of it was just It was just too much space coming out of the zone. It wasn't just them getting in on the rush. There was a lot of, I thought on a number of those chances, there was just a lot of separation where they're coming in, they're entering with time and space, or they're able to enter through the middle, and then, it's just a lot. We gave them too much room to operate.
Can you just talk about the decision to challenge the goal you did? Were you using that timeout to figure out if you were going to make that call?
So we used the timeout before the challenge because what we see, it might be different than what you guys are saying. We felt strongly, we thought it was offsides, but there wasn't anything. There was bodies, there was people in the way. So we wanted to see if we could just get a little bit of a slightly better view. That it was clear. We were intending to challenge, but it gave us a little bit extra time there just to make sure it wasn't. There's times where, within that next minute, you suddenly get new camera angles and something becomes very apparent. So that's why.
Probably simplistic, but is it just about consistency? Because there's been times in these losses where you've looked pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, the two previous games to this one, we did everything but find a way to win it. I mean, we probably carried the play and chances and a lot of areas. So it's just a matter of getting those big plays to get us over the hump on the offensive side or the defensive side. So that's the difference.
Montreal's goaltender made his debut tonight. What did you think of his performance?
He was solid. We had some good looks. He looked pretty good in there. So, I think would have been nice to get a little more traffic in front of him and test him more that way. But the pucks that he was able to see, he did a good job.
Do you have to prepare any differently for a new goalie like that?
No, I think you're always preparing for whoever you're playing against. I mean, as far as a new goalie, I think you just you try to get bodies and create havoc there and try to make any goalie's life difficult that way. But as far as a new one, I don't think you changed probably a ton. No.
I think it was just a little bit of tough circumstances getting to the rink. That obviously led for a later start, and I think just that might have played a little bit into what happened at the beginning. I'm not sure, but we had to come out better.
So it just felt disjointed from the beginning?
Yeah, a little bit. I think collectively we just weren't all there together. I think we were missing some passes early, and I think our breakouts weren't as clean. And I think when all those things are together, we're a hard team to play against. And I think that's the hardest thing to defend against is when we have possession of the puck.
Tristan, were you involved in or caught up in the jam? And just, as much as you want to say, just how did things unfold as far as trying to get here on time and get organized, get ready for the game, all that stuff?
It was a little bit of everyone. It was almost the whole team. So it's tough. It's obviously something that we can't control, but we just have to be better for it.
Do you think you guys had it back on the rails with that early goal in the third, and then what happened after that?
I think they just played a strong defensive game. They were pretty sound in their defensive zone, and when they came down, they attacked us, and they had a lot of odd man rushes. They were hitting that flat pass a lot, and that's tough to defend. I think that they had a lot of possession, and they were working the puck really well, and I think we were just caught chasing.
3-game losing streak here, not the end of the world, but how do you guys pull out of this little skid here?
We just have to keep working. We have to do what we know, and I think we have to have a good practice tomorrow, and I think just go over some of the things that we may have been lacking the last couple games and just come better for the weekend.
For whatever reason, I don't think we had our legs. I don't think we were executing very well. Thought we were seeing plays that just didn't. Our passing wasn't crisp. that kind of thing can slow things down a lot, and we can get really disconnected.
A lot of their pressure, especially in the first period, just causing those turnovers that you mentioned. But how would you have liked the team to better respond to that pressure from them?
I think when any team comes that hard and fast, I think we just got to play simple, and we got to move our feet. They were in our face for a lot of that first half of that game, and I think the response to that probably should have been put pucks behind them, get our feet moving, skate, try to win some races, and wear them down that way.
You also have to tip your hat to the goalie in his NHL debut, coming up with some incredible saves, especially on that one power play in the second.
Yeah, he played great. Got to give him credit, but we obviously would like to capitalize on a few of those too. I think we were really close, but that's something that games like that, I think we got to score those goals.